Yo guys, what is up? It's Teach here, coming at you again with another video over on Ark Survival Ascended. And in this video, I am going to show you basically a complete guide to everything that you need to know over on Ragnarok. Now, the map itself has a ton of awesome features and things that you should be kind of aware of. And I'm going to kind of walk you through everything that you need to know, and including where resources are, major locations, things like that. It's kind of like a complete everything. I'm going to try and keep it as quick as I can. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get started from the basics. All right, so basically this is the map of Ragnarok. There are a few new islands that are in place, but it can be categorized into a few different areas. This is your desert biome in the bottom right quadrant. It's going to have a bunch of resources such as Metal Mountain, access to Gigantosauruses, a special cave that we'll talk about later in this one. And that's kind of like the main points of that one. You will have the highlands region, which is going to be up here. The highlands are kind of a unique only to Ragnarok area, and they kind of border the edge of the wyvern scar. So there are wyverns on this map. There are tons of sheep up here, lots of beaver ponds, things like that. Now this right over here, this circle that I'm kind of doing over in this region is your, basically, if you want to think of it this way, it's your Redwoods forest. The Redwoods forest can be found, and it's got all your generic Redwoods forest creatures. Now, snow biome is going to be found right here. There are 3 distinct snow biomes. Rag has special creatures known as ice wyverns, as well as murder snow and murder snow, which basically is almost impossible to survive. In the center, you've got a little area that is going to be your chasm, or your whatever you want to call it, the canyon, whatever you. There's a lot of different talks, but I'll explain that later. And then the bottom left is going to be kind of like your open grasslands and your swampy areas, very standard swampy and grasslands areas. And then a special area up in the north called Vikings Bay, and it's more like your generic island. So kind of a unique thing. So we are in the bottom left quadrant right now, and just so you can kind of see what we're looking like right near, it's kind of more like a Valguero style approach, kind of like regular Ark. You've got access to your swamps, which is beneath us over here. And it's very generic to the creatures that you're going to be able to find in this area. They're all going to be about the same. Now, that is kind of that region. I'm not going to, so when I'm describing these regions, by the way, I'm just trying to show you the map so you can see it, and then I'll go into like resources and things like that, where you can find the best stuff and everything you need to know about it. So this is the canyon that we are going into, and I'm just going to go ahead and pull the cords into the upper left corner so you can see those constantly. The canyon is going to have access to griffins over here, and it's got a lot of really neat areas. It is basically just a giant canyon that runs through the center of the map with lots of different features to it. There are lots of spinos on the bottom side. There's lots of weird little things like a giant hole in the, you can see this one right here. Like, there's just some very unique things that don't exist on other maps, and it's pretty cool. Behind almost every single waterfall, except for this one, by the way, there is some form of cave or something along those lines. Nothing that's like an actual cave, like you have to explore them cave, but lots of little tuck away caves that you can make a base location or just use as a little bit of an area for reference in. Now, the whole area is pretty sparse on life unless you go to the very bottom of the canyon, where you'll find your generic next to the water creatures. Now, moving past that, we will get into our kind of burned land slash it's going to turn into the wyvern scar. The wyvern scar will have all 3 types of wyverns, and it can be found right beneath us, where I am at 2468. The whole region is basically a giant U-shaped wyvern scar, and there's a couple of cool little mini caves in there that you can find, and it'll get you foot access to the wyvern scar, which is kind of neat, obviously. And then over here where we are is the highlands. The highlands are a very fun little area because they have a ton of open space, so PvE builds are very popular out in the highlands, as well as some very unique creatures. Usually Gigantosauruses will spawn right over there. And then over here, you'll get a bunch of things like Allosauruses and things like that. And then in the open field over here, you'll find the new creature, the bison, as well as a giant beaver lake. So just a fun little area that's got some unique kind of openness to it. There's nothing super special. You will find over here, there are some carcasses of whales. There's one right there. Those carcasses can be harbored for some resources. You're going to get some basically spoiled meat, keratin, oil, and some other basic things. So those are kind of like the distinct, unique regions that you won't see on other maps. Just fun little things. The snow zone. This is going to be interesting because if you fly through the snow zone, you will find that there are ice wyverns kind of flying all over the place. If you find ice wyverns, I'm looking for one right now. I don't see one. They're pretty obvious because they're giant and in the sky. If you find one and they're flying around, it basically means that there's going to be an egg that you can gather nearby. I don't see one right now, but you can kind of fly over the snow biomes, and it's pretty obvious to see them. I did just boot the server up, so it's possible that not one has spawned in yet. But outside of that, you'll also get your mammoths and rhinos and things like that spawn over in this region. Now, I'm going to go ahead and go up north to where Vikings Bay is, because it's another unique area, and then that's kind of where we'll start our little tips and tricks guide for Ragnarok as a whole, because there's a lot of small things that make this map much more playable. So this is the Vikings Bay area. It's kind of like this general starting point that everyone should start in because it's easy. Now, I say easy, it is. So this is like one of the most temperate regions on the map. You don't really have to worry about warm or cold here. There is lots of lower level creatures. You're not going to see a lot of higher end creatures that are going to cause you to die early on in your Ark games. You're not going to run into Rexes, Gigas, Allos, things like that. You're going to run into like a Dilos and things like that on the beach. So you don't need to be super concerned. There's also a giant, very deep bay that you can actually go into and get some unique resources. You will be able to get access to silica pearls, black pearls, all kinds of stuff over in this zone. But without further ado, that's kind of the map for you. Let's go ahead and go into some of the places that you can get resources and things like that. So speaking of Vikings Bay, why it's such a strong starting point, there is a little boat at the cords. Again, you can see where I'm at right now. And this little boat will have two unique things that spawn here. One, you will have access to silica pearls and black pearls, which can be found just on the ground right here. And then right where I am right now, if I was to go down where these Utrepids are trying to murder my face, you can go right there and actually find a treasure chest. Now the treasure chest will be level 80 plus, but it will get you some really good blueprints and other loot. So it's a really good entry level area. Ragnarok, the best place to start is the region that I'm in right now, just because it's got all the resources you need to start up. Now, in order to find metal, it can be a little harder. You will have to go up the mountains on the side, and once you head up those mountains, you will find a couple of metal nodes. You're not going to find a ton, but this is the best place to get started. So always spawn in Viking Bay and kind of move around this region in order to get started, because you got your stone, wood, thatch, all your basic entry, flint. And then moving up the mountain just a touch will give you access to more stone. And then you move up a little bit more and you'll start seeing metal and things like that. If you're looking for quick metal, any node inside of the water can be harvested. These kind of like circular style rocks. You can harvest those and they will give you a good chunk of metal as well. Not a massive amount, but it'll be enough to survive. So Vikings Bay is a very common starting point for that reason, because it's going to have all of those starter resources. All right, so let's talk about some of the other places that you can go that you need to know where they are. Now, the easiest way to get metal inside of this game is to go to Metal Mountain, because obviously something called Metal Mountain probably has a good chunk of metal. Now, we talked about it earlier. It's over in the desert, which can be a little bit unforgiving because obviously it's hot, it's vast, it's wide, and you got to be able to have some faster creatures to cross it. I wouldn't recommend coming over here with an RG because this map is huge. It'll take you 6 years to fly across it. Not actually 6 years, but you know what I mean. And you're just going to come to this mountain that looks like it's a giant metal rock, because guess what? It basically is. This entire thing right here is chocked full of metal. You can see it on the ground right here. And if you go inside of this actual metal mountain, which can be accessed from the side over here, see that giant crack right there? You can go inside of this and get a very solid chunk of metal. Most of the rocks in here are metal. You'll be able to get access to crystal, obsidian, pretty much all of those resources. This is one of the best places on Ragnarok to farm those resources, to get crystal, metal, obsidian, as well as a good chunk of stone and flint. I would just take a new Carcanos over here, and then I would, take them maybe 1-2 Ankies and swing away. And that is how I would get metal over on this map. Now, there are lots of other places to find metal. You can kind of go up the spine that runs along the back side of the desert, and there's quite a bit of metal up there. And then any high mountain peak will give you access to a good chunk of metal over on Rag. Now, that is kind of how you do that. See, the next thing that kind of you're going to be looking for in general is once you get through that, you can find access to your desert creatures over here. You're going to be able to get some unique desert creatures over here, including the rock elementals, the spiny lizards, also known as, where are they? Thorny dragons. I don't see one right now. But you'll be able to access all of them, as well as if you walk around this desert, you will find rock elementals. Now, as long as they're in the desert, I'm going to show you something that's kind of unique. This is the best cave in all of Ark to run. It's very difficult. It's called Life's Labyrinth or Puzzle Cave or whatever you want to call it. I have a video on it. I am not going to show you in this video how to run it because it takes about 30 minutes just to show you and knowing exactly what I'm doing. The benefits of this cave, however, are going to give you access to about 15 to 20 red drops, red crates, and then all of the artifacts that you need in order to run the boss. All of those can be found inside this cave. There are 2 different pathways. I would highly recommend looking at my video because it is not something you're going to figure out first try. It is almost impossible. It took me like hours and hours and hours just to figure out how to run each pathway. So check that out for sure. Now, there are some new islands like you see here, but there's nothing super special about the new islands outside of the fact that they're cool. There's some neat building areas on top of them, but it's up to you. So if you want to build on top of those. Now, I will add on top of this, I also have a caves guide for Ragnarok. On this map, there are about, give or take, 30 different caves in random sections around the map. Some are big caves, some are small caves, some are buildable, some are not. And in that video, I do show you all of the caves. So I'm not going to show you all of them in this video, but you can kind of see that this is just a massive area that you can go on Rag. And that's just that. Now, we've kind of moved into the Redwoods, so I'm going to show you some of the unique resources that you can get over here. And that being, where are they? I'm looking for them. Don't see them, but there are beavers all over these rivers here. Now, the beavers will naturally spawn beaver dams. There's one right there. And you can see there's the beaver right there. There's another beaver over there. And they will spawn beaver dams all over the place in the region that I am at right now. It's a great access point to get a ton of cementing paste. And then you can also hit the trees nearby for your tree sap, obviously. And then these trees will give more wood than any other tree in Ark. So hitting these like smaller redwoods with a chainsaw or something like that will give you the best way to actually harvest wood in the entire game. I would get a tech suit because you will slot cap yourself, and it's kind of crazy how quickly you can get access to wood. So that is how you're going to be able to do those. That's pretty much everything you need from the redwoods. Not much, but that's kind of, you know, all the important stuff. Now, moving over to this region over here, we kind of talked about it a little bit, but the big things that you want to know about the highlands area is you can get access to silk, which is the purple flowers. They are not these purple flowers, these ones right here, but these little purple flowers, these ones, little ones in the ground right here. If I set grass size scale to 0, there, that makes more sense. See these purple flowers? Those are going to give you access to silk. So, and perfect timing actually. So this little drakeling friend right here, this is one of the new creatures on the map. You can find them in the distinct regions. You'll find summer drakelings here, winter drakelings. I believe you can find fall drakelings and spring drakelings over in this region as well. So they are fun little creatures to have access to. But you'll be able to get silk over here, which is pretty nice. Obviously, you're going to need that for whips, and that's obviously why you're going to want them all silk. Now, these are just normal bushes, so don't expect much from this. So, outside of that, the highlands can be used to find sheep. Sheep are all over the highlands. You just need to locate where they are. And once you do locate them, they will give you access to mutton, which is a great early game and mid game taming resource, and before you have kibble for some of the more difficult tames. Now, the highlands also has quite a bit of small metal deposits like this one right here. So it's a pretty good starting area as well. Just needs to be a little bit more strategic when you are in that area. So yeah, definitely take advantage of the highlands. Now, nothing major that you should know about the Wyvern Scar area and the burned area outside. There's some metal and some obsidian that can be found in this region. A lot of rock elementals. This is where your pyromanes are going to spawn. And that's kind of the major resources that you need to worry about right here. You can harvest the trees here, just so you can see this for charcoal. Let me go ahead and get a chainsaw out so you guys can see what I'm talking about. Chainsaw. Go ahead and put that. Oh, I already have one down there. Okay, cool. GFI gasoline 100. And we're going to go ahead and chop up this tree so you can see what I'm talking about. So you see how those trees, hitting them, it will give you access to like 500-ish wood and then some charcoal as well, which is obviously a super useful thing. You can get quite a bit per tree. Obviously, you just saw I got 1,600. I don't know why it's like, okay, really? I don't know why it's not working, but maybe the tree is just permanently like stuck there, even though it's not. Then you can see 1288 and then 195 charcoal. So some early game charcoal is certainly not. Oh, there's a 150 at rock alley right there. Obviously, the rock alleys do not blend in with the ground very well because you can see them really easily. If you haven't seen my video on how to tame them, you can just take some, check it out. It'll help make. I don't mean to keep saying check out my videos. I just don't want to make the video I'm making right now to be like 90 minutes long. All right, so that is some of the resources that you'll be able to check out in this region over here. Now, moving on into like this area that I didn't talk too much about, it's kind of like near the Vikings Bay. The major things over here is at the cords that I'm at right here. You will find massive beaver dam spawns. They are all over the place in these two little rivers. You'll find massive beaver dams and smaller sized beaver dams, and you'll find them all over the place. Now, going here with a wyvern is a great way to get a bunch of cementing paste, and then you don't have to worry about it for a little bit and come back every now and then. That's pretty much the only major resource you need over here. You will get some griffins that spawn over at this mountain that I'm looking at right now. You'll find them usually around the base. There's one right there. Perfect. Right around the base of this mountain, there will be a couple of griffin spawns just so you can see where those are. Now, a couple of cool little things is this little cave right here. Not really a cave, but just a cool little area if you're on a PvE mode to be able to build and have like access to some somewhat hidden areas. So definitely take advantage of that. The castle, I'm not going to ruin any super surprises about this, but do yourself a favor and go to the very bottom of that. And make sure you bring a scuba tank. Just trust me on that one. And you're going to need to fight some things. So bring a shotgun and a pick too. The pick will make more sense when you get down there. So this is Vikings Bay. We talked about some of those resources. There is a secret resource in Vikings Bay. If you go to that area that we talked about earlier, there is a giant cave. Now, this cave is going to have access to silica pearls. The entire thing is chocked full of silica pearls. It's called Silica Cave. You can easily, on an official 1x server, come back with like 10 to 15,000 silica pearls, probably more. And on a boosted server, you're going to end up with a lot more than that. So it's a really popular place to run and get silica pearls. Now, that's kind of the major areas in Vikings Bay. You'll find a lot of caves over in this Vikings Bay region, and pretty much behind almost all the waterfalls. I don't think this one has one, actually. Just making sure they didn't add one. No, they didn't. Pretty much behind all of the waterfalls in Ragnarok, you're going to find some sort of cave or a little hidden base location. Now, there are two things that you want to know about this map when it comes to mini bosses. There's actually mini bosses in this map, and they are a lot of fun to run, but they can be a little bit difficult and persnickety. So I'm not going to tell you exactly where, but you're going to want to look for something called the Rock Elemental. If you want to know where without me ruining the spoil for you, I do have a Rock Elemental guide video. And then there's also an Ice Queen that can be found in the Frozen biome. Both of those are the first mini bosses that were introduced to Ark, and you can get a ton of loot from both of them. And I'm going to give you a hint. I'm near it right now, but I'm not going to tell you where. So this is the next region, kind of nothing major in this one. This is a very generic kind of like jungle zone. Lots of access to trees. You're going to see Therazinos and things like that spawn over here, but nothing super special. So that's kind of that region. Now, the swamp zone is going to be where you can access your swamp-based creatures. You will find a small castle over here. There's nothing super special about this castle other than the fact that you can kind of build inside it a little bit and get some neat stuff going on. There's nothing like super great by any means. I wish I could tell you more outside if there's cats. Yep, there's cats. This is the one place on the map that I have actually found cats. I have not found them anywhere else, but you will get your plant species X from this region as well. So definitely capitalize on that. Now, moving into the snow biome, you can technically find yourself some... Oh, perfect. Look at that. There's ice wyverns, and there is an ice wyvern egg. They always spawn in the same spot, so if you check out the cords that I'm at right now, you'll probably... Ooh, that's a 180. Is that a 180 egg? That's a level 45 egg. That's unfortunate. If you were to kill the level 60 and let the level 180 survive, you will eventually get a level 180 egg out of that. So definitely keep an eye on that. All right, so moving on to probably the last thing I'm going to show you in this Ragnarok video is the next Wyvern Scar. It's a hidden one, and it's very changed for Ark Survival Ascended versus Evolved. Basically, you're going to go to the cords that are in the upper left corner, and you are going to head in there. Now, it can be a very dangerous area. I'm going to recommend using a raft because a raft will make your life quite a bit easier. And yeah, just a good idea to have access to a raft in this region. Now, lots of wyverns spawn in here. Lots of wyvern eggs. You can see them all over the place. And you will also see there's some unique resources that are usually only found on Aberration, but because they've added some things over here, they are aberrant plants. You can actually harvest organic polymer out of these little kind of purplish pink plants, and they are really, really easy to get a ton of resources out of. So definitely capitalize on that. If you go into the water here, the wyverns will actually stop attacking you, but there are megalodons and things in the water that can kill you here, so just be aware of that. Don't use it as a pure escape pattern. But if you do need a quick escape from the wyverns, jumping in the water will make them lose aggro to you until you've gone out of the water. So kind of a cool little thing to be able to access. This island is actually one of the most fun base locations to actually put up in, even on a PvP server, because nobody goes here. I don't know why. It's just people avoid this island for some reason. So I like to build in like some of the little cracks and crevices over here in order to try and avoid people, because there's not really a reason to go over in this area at all, because there's no special creatures, there's no special anything. This island can be kind of interesting because I believe they added a few basic scorched earth tames over here, and there are jerboas on the ground, but that is it for this region. So you can use this island as a little bit of a hiding point, because not really many people, or at least a starting point, because not many people go over here, with a good chunk of metal to have access to as well. So anyways, just a video to help show you the introductory beginner's guide to Ragnarok and the regions and things you should know. I'm not going to go in depth because there's a lot more strategy and a lot more things, but that video would take like 6 hours. So lots of caves. Check out, I've got pretty much videos describing all the stuff that I talked about. So hopefully this video helps you out. If you don't mind, smash that like button, leave a comment below for that algorithm, and then consider subbing to the channel. All right, Teach.